Sure. Hi, everybody. Today we are Tuesday, January 5th, 2021, and today we'll be reading from the book A Course in Miracles, based on the original handwritten notes of Helen Schucman, the complete and annotated edition, the purple book, in other words. Today we'll be reading the cameos near the end of the book. This is on page 1683. Cameo 1 is titled, "This is not a selfish gift." But before we do that, Joanne will lead us in a prayer.
Dear God, I give this day to you. May my mind stay centered on the things of spirit. May I not be tempted to stray from love. As I begin this day, I open to receive you. Please enter where you already abide. May my mind and heart be pure and true, and may I not deviate from the things of goodness. May I see the love and innocence in all mankind, behind the mask we all wear and the illusions of this worldly plane. I surrender to you my doings this day. I ask only that they serve you and the healing of the world. May I bring your love and goodness with me to give unto others wherever I go. Make me the person you would have me be. Direct my footsteps and show me what you would have me do. Make the world a safer, more peaceful place. Bless all your creatures, heal us all, and use me, dear Lord, that I might know the joy of being used by you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Joanne. That was very inspiring, fulfilling. All right. So, there we go. Cameo 1. This is not a selfish gift. In June of 1965, after years of conflict in their professional lives, Helen Schucman and Bill Thetford joined in the goal of demonstrating another way, which they hoped would transform their working relationships. This triggered in Helen that summer a series of startling inner visions and paranormal experiences. Then, apparently toward the end of that summer, she made what turned out to be a prescient announcement. She said, "One day during that same summer, I told Bill I was about to do something very unexpected. I had no idea what it was, but I knew it was going to happen soon. At Bill's urging, I had been keeping a sort of diary since our visit to Virginia Beach. Now Bill suggested that if I wrote down whatever occurred to me in connection with the unexpected something, I might find out what it is. Therefore, sometime around October 18 or 19, Helen began writing down anything that seemed relevant. She said in her autobiography, "Nothing much. It came of my attempts at first, and I was on the point of giving them up. But actually, these early writings clearly reveal a spiritual impulse that was trying to emerge into consciousness, like a new shoot, just starting to push through the soil." She records spiritual reflections that do not at all sound like the musings of a self-professed militant atheist. I think under the projection and all that stuff is a hidden nostalgia for the soul. We want it back so we can identify it with it, because that is what we are really, and somewhere we know it. This AM, it occurred to me that I had no right to waste anything, money, clothes, or my own life, because thus everything has to be used right. It all has a place in the plan, and you must not throw gifts away. It seems clear that these thoughts were coming from somewhere beyond Helen's conscious mind. Indeed, an insight she writes down regarding her tendency to forget names, it may be more a fear of involvement or interaction, is later identified by the course's author as coming from him. Quote, "I emphasize again that your tendency to forget names is not hostility, but a fear of involvement or recognition." She records dreams with obvious spiritual content. In one account, she says, "The crucifixion was a total rejection of the body by others. and its destruction, which was really a purification. As a result, the soul could enter entirely into the temple, heal it, and use it only constructively. She also records prayers, including a long, impassioned prayer for Dave Diamond, a friend who was dying from brain cancer. This prayer is infused with ideas that will later appear in the course, as we can see in these excerpts. Dave, don't give in. You have a real mission. Don't lose your chance. Miracles are the natural law. Then I asked Christ to help Dave know he was there and to see him and know the truth so he could be free. Your spirit and mine can unite, and then two of us have come together in Christ's name. Jesus promised to be there, Dave. Your brain does not matter if you will understand life as Jesus did. Finally, sprinkled throughout these writings, she records statements from a voice that speaks as if it is Jesus and that Helen calls Christ. I was really quite depressed this morning, which is now very unusual. I used to be depressed all the time. But he says, be of good heart, be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Then on October 20th, everything changed. The voice, which we will call by the name that it later gave itself, Jesus, went from showing up in occasional brief statements to delivering a more extended discourse. And this discourse, which was specifically about Bill receiving guidance and Helen asking on his behalf, became the jumping off point for the dictation of A Course in Miracles. Earlier, Helen had written down the following items. 1. Ask what is interfering with Bill's meditation and how to overcome this. And 2. Bill's list. Now, on the day before the course would begin coming through, Helen returns to these two items. The first of which is specifically about Bill's ability to hear guidance in meditation. He has apparently been wondering how he can access a gift like the one that Helen has stumbled upon. Here's the question that he asks for her guidance. I said he promised to come when he was called on, and Bill asks for guidance and does not receive and has really tried to knock, and it has not been open to him. I think the door is ajar a bit, but I really wouldn't call it very open. Is it all right if I ask you for him since he wants me to? Before reading this question, Helen had actually already started to write down Jesus' answer. She wrote, if you do not get an answer, it is always because you ask amiss. But then cross this out. Now she writes his answer down in full. This was his answer. I can't answer when he asks wrongly. When he asks right, I have answered. He has a tendency to get part of an answer and decide himself when to disconnect. He should ask, that's all. Since I don't know when he's going to ring off, I have to be very short and even cryptic. It chops messages up too much. The main problem then is that Bill is too quick to hang up on the phone, so to speak. Now Jesus elaborates on further areas of interference. There is also interference from three major areas. The first three items on the numbered list that follows. 1. He doesn't have much real confidence that I will get through. He never just claims his rights. He should begin with much more confidence. I'll keep my promises. The writing now apparently switches to Helen speaking to Bill. But you do not act as if you really expect him to. This attitude of asking with confidence, as of claiming a birthright, is the same attitude encouraged in the workbook's instruction for listening for guidance. For example, there is a message waiting for you. Be confident that you will receive it. Remember that it belongs to you. There's another kind of related error, which is illustrated by his question about when are you going to call the hospital? It's not right to interfere just to check. It's selfish. But more than that, it makes things too personal, which always implies doubt. Without knowing what the call to the hospital is about, it's hard to be sure what this means. Jesus mentions the situation later, saying, remember your slip about the effect on Neurological Institute. And Bill's asking when you were going to call up. Whatever the details, Bill is being interfering and even selfish due to his own lack of trust. The implication may be that Bill's asking for inner guidance at times has the same quality. This might be a clarification of the earlier idea that Bill sometimes asks wrongly. Third thing that Jesus said is he has to learn better concentration. His mind flits about too much for good communication. Suggest a very short phrase like, here I am, Lord. And now addressing Bill directly. And don't think of anything else. Just pull in your mind slowly from everywhere else and center it on these 4 words. Here I am, Lord. Here, Jesus gives Bill a meditation technique, which involves putting all his attention on being fully present to God and on nothing else. The idea is that this kind of concentrated focus on God will help Bill hear guidance. This too is a foreshadowing of the workbook. It anticipates the workbook's meditation instructions, which sometimes involve making oneself fully present to God. And it anticipates the workbook's training in stilling one's mind in order to hear guidance. His voice awaits your silence, for his word cannot be heard unless your mind is quiet for a while and meaningless desires have been stilled. Tell him to be sure not to mistake your role. If he overreacts to or overevaluates you as a person, both of you would be in danger. This is the 4th thing that Jesus told Bill. Bill already feels that he lacks his own access to God. If he puts Helen on a pedestal as a spiritual idol, he will further denigrate himself and dangerously inflate her. The 5th thing Jesus told Helen, he should try to get his own list. Armstrong may just mean his own arm is strong. It's a little bit catchy. The nature of Bill's list is not specified, but from what little we know, it seems very similar to Helen's list, which is discussed in the notes just days later. Her list is a list of people selected by guidance who have thrown away their chalice of atonement, the reconciliation of God, and who need Helen's help to get it back. She has been assigned, in other words, to hand them back their own chalice. Like Helen's list, Bill's list is also apparently a list of people, in that someone named Joe Armstrong is twice mentioned in connection with it. And like Helen's, it seems to be a list revealed by guidance, in that Helen appears to be asking Jesus who is on Bill's list. However, rather than hearing the names of those on Bill's list, Helen gets a very different message. He should try to get his own list. The name Armstrong is then apparently turned into a pun in which Bill's arm is strong enough for him to get his own guidance. When it comes to guidance, in other words, Bill can rely on his own strength. He shouldn't be leaning so heavily on Helen. This somewhat curt guidance may sound quite definite, but it will soon be reversed. Jesus' discourse on Bill's hearing ends at this point and things take a dramatic turn. It's as if during this guidance, something has been building in the background and is now ready to break through. But before he can do so, Jesus needs to explain to Helen the bigger picture. Jesus says, he thinks it's time for some explanations, which we're probably ready for. There are always risks in speed-ups. The whole thing was undertaken because things were getting behind schedule, because so many people persistently lost more than they gained. Helen, later in her autobiography, fleshed out the thoughts that rapidly entered her mind at this point. She says, I was given a sort of mental explanation, though in the form of a series of related thoughts that crossed my mind in rapid succession and made a reasonably coherent whole. According to this information, the real situation was worsening at an alarming degree. People all over the world were being called on to help and were making their individual contributions as part of an overall prearranged plan. I had apparently agreed to take down A Course in Miracles as it will be given to me. The voice was fulfilling its part in the agreement as I would fulfill mine. I would be using abilities I had developed very long ago and which I was not really ready to use again. Because of the acute emergency, however, the usual slow evolutionary process was being bypassed in what might be described as a celestial speed-up. I could sense the urgency that lay beyond explanation, whatever I might think about its content. The feeling was conveyed to me that time was running out. Finally, it is clear what has been happening to Helen. Before her birth, she had agreed to enter this life in order to play her part in a global plan to restore humanity's forward progress. And this agreement, after slumbering for decades, has at last stirred to life. Receiving this information is a turning point, but instead of the process now rolling forward, things came to a grinding halt. Helen now writes this message from Jesus in large letters in the center of the page. Stop. Clearly, something was temporarily gone wrong. This leads Helen to offer to tear it all up. Helen says, I'll tear it up if you want. Jesus says, no, maybe tomorrow. Now, just write this. Remember your slip about the effect on Neurological Institute, and Bill's asking when you're going to call up. Without more context, this is a very opaque comment. It is obviously another reference to Bill's question, when are you going to call the hospital? But more than that, we cannot say. Now Helen writes an even more emphatic message from Jesus. Be careful. We can tell this caution comes from Jesus, since he repeats it in his next comments. The reference to Jonathan is to Helen's husband, Louis, whom she often calls Jonathan in notes. Jesus says, also, tell Bill about Jonathan's remark. I do not like you all sweetness and light. I like you a little sharp, if you get what I mean. And again, be very careful. Something is clearly wrong. Helen has been told with great emphasis to stop and to be careful, and then to, again, be very careful. Helen even offers to tear it up if you want. The overall implication seems to be that Helen is in danger of proceeding inappropriately. But in what way? To understand this, we have to look at the major temptation Helen had faced up to this point. In the summer, she had discovered that she had psychic abilities. About this, she reported, I was actually becoming rather proud of the acquisition of such dramatic abilities. And I even caught brief glimpses of fantasies of power and prestige crossed in the back of my mind. This was a major obstacle she had faced in the run-up to the course, her ego being inflated by her newfound abilities. This obstacle was shifted by two pivotal experiences, both of which Helen marked as a crucial turning points in accepting her function. In the first, she had a psychic vision of a church she was sure she and Bill would see when visiting the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. This, however, turned out to be a useless application of her abilities, as Bill discovered the church existed but had been torn down long ago to make way for the clinic itself. The true use of her abilities came out on the way home, when she was able to intuitively feel waves and waves of misery going through a young woman at the airport. This far more practical use of Helen's psychic abilities enabled her and Bill to render critical service to this woman at a turning point in her life. The Mayo Clinic experience was followed by, and apparently led to, an inner vision in which Helen discovered an ancient scroll on the floor of a cave. As she unrolled the scroll, she saw that the center panel said simply, "God is." Opening the scroll further, she saw tiny letters begin to emerge on the right and the left panels. She was told that on the left side, she could read all the past, and the right side, all of the future. Helen, however, chose to reject the reading of past and future and stick with just the center panel. This represented a key decision to use her abilities only for God, not for psychic feats. Helen seems to have this belief that this was where she really accepted her function as scribe of the course. So she stuck with not knowing the past, not knowing the future, but simply the present, which is God is. The road to accepting her function, then, had been one of repeatedly refusing to use her unusual abilities to fuel her ego, and instead giving them to God to use to help others. Returning to our account of the late October dictation, it is probable then that as she stands on the brink of actually beginning her function, she is facing some version of the same choice again. The particular way in which her ego wants to control her abilities becomes clear in what she writes the next morning, the morning of October 21st. This is what she wrote. It crossed my mind last night that something very wrong had happened. I got mad because I thought I shouldn't be asked to ask for you, for Bill. And it was a form of exploitation that was very dangerous for me and represented an avoidance technique for you. I thought the whole thing was so dangerous that I had to tell you not to do it all again. Briefly, it crossed my mind, but with no emotional impact at all, which is always suspicious, that I might just resent asking for someone else because I prefer the exclusive idea. Here it is. Helen now identifies what had gone so wrong last night. Her suspicion that it was dangerously unhealthy for Bill to ask her for guidance was actually the voice of her ego, wanting her to keep this gift as her own private treasure, as a spring that only she could drink from. As the dictation proceeds, Jesus now elaborates on this. Christ says, I can tell something's wrong whenever I get a snappy answer. He wouldn't say, tell him to go to get his own list that way. The tone is wrong. So that fifth point, that Bill should try to get his own list, was in fact in error. It was a distortion introduced by the exclusive idea. Helen's urge to keep her gift to herself is warping her hearing, turning Jesus' voice into something snappy and even mean. This seems to solve the puzzle of why Jesus told her to stop and to be careful. He can hardly proceed to dictate the course to her if her ego is taking control of her gift and distorting his voice. She says, this morning it was very clear to me that in connection with Bill, I have not been right since I asked you what you wanted. So I could really be asking for you. This was essential, and except for the list, where I slipped, the answer should be respected. Instead of asking on Bill's behalf being very dangerous and an avoidance technique, it is in fact essential. And except for that point about Bill's list, what she heard was indeed accurate and should be respected. Jesus said, "You have every right, in fact, you should ask me to ask for you." This is not a selfish gift, and it is a real one. Has to be used for others, and particularly you. Jesus says, "Ask Bill, please, to help you get over being mean about it fast." So, here on the cusp of the course dictation actually beginning, Ellen seems to have faced another version of the choice she made at the Mayo Clinic, an inner scroll cave vision. In the face of the temptation to keep this gift exclusively for herself, she apparently decides with Jesus that this is not a selfish gift. She decides to use it for others, and particularly for Bill. She decides to fulfill her agreement to help the world situation. With this key decision made, it's as if the final barrier has been swept away. Helen now writes this message from Jesus. "You will see miracles through your hands, through me." This is the first of what will become the miracle principles. The dictation of A Course in Miracles has begun.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What a
I like
story,
that.
yeah?
I know.
I didn't think that the fifth interference was coming from Ellen, because I've kind of like resume in a couple of words all the interference. Like maybe the first one I wrote lack of faith that Bill had. Okay. The second one, doubt. Again, but doubt, it's lack of faith. The third one, be still and wait for the answer. The fourth one was the ego that was trying to get inside. And the fifth one, I wrote confidence in self. Like, be confident, write your own list. But after that, this was all because, in fact, that Ellen was starting to be arrogant and
Speaking with her ego.
Yeah, and then he explained it and he cleared it up. Like, stop, be careful, be very, very careful. And then after she was able to be to listen to all the guidance with no interference. So this is a nice introduction, I found, to explain that. They could have went straight to the introduction to the Course in the Miracle, like we're going to see in the second, but they kind of like did this beginning thing just to understand. And we could get caught up in that, like to say, yes, I have gifts, or yes, I'm a special, more special maybe than others. And sometimes it's a fine line, especially even in spirituality. Or especially, I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's like psychics and mediums, like I was saying to Fernando yesterday, a lot of people, like, they're like, oh, wow, and they'll worship like someone because they're able to receive messages, but everyone can receive messages. And everyone is special.
Yeah, and if, let's say, somebody doesn't really have a gift, but thinks he's really, really super spiritual, thinks he's more spiritual than others, it could be very, like,
it's in line with
subtle.
Ego. Yeah.
Subtle.
Yeah, like, I can meditate for 5 hours a day, It's like, wow,
You know what I also like, because when I read this yesterday, it really, really answered my questions, because I was looking I was asking God for so many things, like how do I love others, and how do I this, how do I that. But when I saw that Bill had the same kind of like he felt that when he asked, he was not faith, like he didn't have the faith or the confidence that he was going to get an answer. And that's me, like me for so many years, sometimes I did sometimes really, like, okay, I felt the connection I had, with God, but mostly like during the day and during the years, mostly I didn't feel that connection, and that brought me to a real understanding that I need to be in a good position so I can hear, so I can listen. And God, Jesus, he says that, listen, if you're not going to listen, I'm going to speak to you a couple of words. I'm going to give you what you want, but you just want little. That's
Yeah.
how I got it. You just want little, I'm going to give you a little.
Yeah,
You
I
want
like
more?
I like the analogy that was used in the books. There's Bill had a tendency to hang up the phone too quickly.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, because so Jesus said, okay, well, I'm gonna have to speak with you in short words and even cryptic. It's like, keep the phone open.
Yeah.
He'll speak to you all day, even if there's
Yeah,
no
and
answer for something, just later on during the day.
yeah, and it's like sometimes our friends, they ask us for advice, and we start giving the advice, and they hang up the phone and they do whatever they want.
Yeah.
It's the same thing,
Yeah, or they'll cut you off, it's like, yeah, okay, I got it. Thanks, bye.
Yeah.
And at the end they do what they want, like, so they they don't really listen. So I really understood there that I have a part, not that I have to do something to have a relationship with. I don't really have to do something. Like, let's say, if I do this, if I read more, if I pray more. No, I just have to kind of like be more still.
Yeah, and
In
listen.
fact, I have to do like more nothing. Just to
Yes,
receive.
exactly. Yeah, I feel the same way. I was telling Fernando yesterday about an example of that, where the first time I felt the lump on my breast, I asked, what is that? Is this cancer? And I waited. And like I told Fern, the information came in so quickly, and not a short version of it. It was, and I never interrupted. I just listened to what was coming in. And what came in was, yes, it's cancer. It's stage 2. It's going to take a long time. The treatment will be long, but you will heal. But this was long. It was not like, yeah, it's cancer. No, and that's it, I didn't cut it there. I just let it continue. And the way it gave me so much information. And somehow it also gave me, it made me feel good. It's made me feel at peace. Message.
You had closure.
But it made me feel peaceful because
it's gonna be rough, but it's gonna be okay. And
exactly,
God just told me, don't worry.
How amazing is that?
Yeah,
definitely.
And I find that it was a choice. So it is a choice that you took, and we have always the choice to receive and wait for the real guidance. Yeah. The whole guidance, even sometimes if we don't want to hear it. Like Ellen must, when she understood that God was telling her, dangerous, be careful, be careful. I'm sure that at the beginning she must have said, oh my goodness, what's happening here? She thought the next morning, and she realized the next morning, but I'm sure she didn't spend the whole night sleeping well.
No, and that's why she said, you want me to store it all up? I'll do it right now. She really, right away, she snapped.
Yeah. So it's a choosing to receive, choosing to listen, and also be confident and have faith that it's your birthright. I love that. That was like eye-opening. I've been saying it like every time we discussed it with each other. I always say it. It's because it's a realization for me. It's all new. No, it's my birthright. I am his child. Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah. I mean,
so opening the channel. I'm opening the channel.
Yeah. And keeping it open too.
Yeah, that's it.
And let's not interfere and just listen. And it's true, we listening without emotions or just like, let's wait. Let's see what comes in, which is amazing, you know? Yeah. Well, thank you for reading, Fern.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. I like it.
So we'll be doing Cameo 2 tomorrow?
Yeah, demain. No problem. It's cool.
Do we have to talk a little bit, or we're finished?
Well, I'm good. You guys?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Also.
But in the time lane?
I think we're good with time. It's about time.
Okay. Amen to that.
Okay.
Amen.
So put
Thank
that
you
up.
so much, Fern.
You're welcome, Angelique. Yeah, so put that up and let's listen to it. And so demain. It's good. So have a blast. Oh, talk tonight. We talk tonight in class.
Of course, we have a class tonight. Yeah. So to all the people out there, if they're listening to this podcast, we love you. You are the holy, lovely ones. Don't forget.
Yes, you are.
All right.
Have a good day, guys. Love you.
Okay. Talk to you later. Love you both. Bye.
Ciao.